Does living together mean becoming a family? There are families who have lived together for years without a bond, and others who remain connected despite distance. The important thing is realizing when that bond exists. It's never too late to notice, and it's always possible to start over. I'm Tony Harrison. I'm an executive at a certain company. I'm about to retire after serving this company for many years. I'm the son-in-law of the former CEO, and the current CEO is my brother-in-law. As the vice president, I could continue working for a while even after retirement. But with no kids, sufficient retirement funds, and having focused on work all these years, I thought it might be good to spend quality time with my wife. Hey Tony, my brother asked if you're okay to continue as an executive after retirement. You're good with that, right? A few months before turning 60, my wife Mary asked me. This seemed like the right moment, so I shared my thoughts with Mary. Well, I've been thinking of retiring and enjoying our later years. Mary looked visibly shocked. You retiring already? We have enough for our retirement. I want to give you a break. Let's enjoy our second innings together. I was about to ask if she disliked the idea when she cut me off. A second innings with you? Stop kidding. Being with you is suffocating. Not fun at all. You probably feel the same about me, don't you? I was first taken aback by the intense rejection from the usually calm Mary. Then the weight of her words hit me, filling me with disbelief. What did Mary just say? Being with me isn't enjoyable at all. Does she think I feel the same? While it's true that Mary's father, a former CEO, liked me and we married through matchmaking, I always cherished Mary. I dedicated myself to her father's company. Although we didn't have children, I believed our relationship was solid. Longtime couples aren't always as lovey-dovey as young lovers, so naturally, our conversations dwindled and we pursued separate interests on days off. But I believed we were fundamentally connected, assuming most couples were like us. It seems Mary felt differently. She said, "From the start, you never showed interest in me. You married me because my father suggested it." I felt the same. I didn't know what to say as I stayed silent, she continued. If you were continuing your job, fine. But the thought of being stuck with you, not getting any rest, feeling bored, even dreading seeing your face, was too much. I want a divorce. Does she think I'll give in if she mentions divorce? Mary looks at me challengingly. I had plans for us after retirement, but my feelings are rapidly cooling. I thought of leaving the job once I hit retirement age. Working just for Mary's sake now seems questionable. Yet, Mary is dead serious. Once she sets her mind, she doesn't budge. Lost in thought, Mary, seemingly losing patience, says, "Fine, let's divorce then." And she quickly retreats to her room. Left in the living room, I was still searching for answers, standing in sheer disbelief. The next morning, Mary was already gone when I woke up. It seemed she truly left. I thought giving each other space might help, but maybe it made things worse. I wonder, what has my life been? Have I been wrong all along? I'm filled with regret, but there's no turning back now. I thought I had been working hard for Mary and the company, but Mary seemed to have viewed our marriage as just a contract from the start. Overwhelmed with regret, shock, and a feeling of hopelessness, I lacked the motivation to do anything. Even though work hours had passed, I didn't have the energy to go to the office. I just sat aimlessly staring at the wall. My cell phone had been ringing off the hook, but I couldn't muster the strength to answer. Then the home phone rang. If ignored, it switched to voicemail, and the message played. The call was from my secretary, starting with her expressing surprise about me not answering the phone and suddenly taking days off. The CEO mentioned that I would be using my paid leave until my official retirement date. They would handle everything else, so I should just relax. That was the gist of it. I suppose Mary must have told the CEO, my brother-in-law, about our situation. I wondered if my brother-in-law saw me in the same light as Mary did. I briefly pondered on this, but quickly let the thought go. Right now, I couldn't think about it any further, and it didn't really matter. I had hoped that with time, I might be able to recover somewhat, but that wasn't the case. I continued to live my days without any vigor. One day, I received divorce papers in the mail from Mary. I then received documents from my attorney regarding property division and further paperwork from the company about my retirement due to reaching the age limit. That day was my birthday. Feeling the need to at least greet the CEO, my brother-in-law, I dragged my heavy body and headed to the company. Having informed them in advance, I was immediately ushered into the CEO's office. The CEO greeted me with his usual broad smile, but his eyes weren't smiling. After I formally expressed my gratitude for the years of service, he responded, "Good job. It seems Mary has decided to enjoy the next phase of her life. And it's good for both of us, isn't it? I hope you enjoy your upcoming days as well." Speaking in a tone suggesting he knew everything. What does he mean by it being good for both of us? Did they think Mary and I were on bad terms? The thought that my in-laws might have always seen me in such a light makes me wonder if everything I've done until now was in vain. Even after serving the company for so many years, the exit process was surprisingly brisk. As I staggered out of the CEO's office, I suddenly felt weak in the knees, unable to stand, and I just sat down on the floor. What happened? Are you not feeling well? How long had I been sitting there? Next thing I know, a cleaning lady is peering down at me with concern. When she saw my face, she gasped. She might recognize me as the executive director. For now, let's get you somewhere else. The back room should be empty at this hour, so let's go there together. The woman said this as she supported me and led me along. Honestly, I didn't care much about where we were going, but I slowly walked as she guided me. When we reached the break room, she settled me into a chair and remained beside me. She introduced herself as Samantha Johnson. In the flow of the moment, I introduced myself, saying, "I'm Tony Harrison, the vice president." I quickly added, "Oh, but I'm retiring today." Samantha looked at me with a surprised face, and for some reason, she repeated my name as if to confirm. "Tony Harrison, is it?" For a brief moment, Samantha seemed lost in thought, then asked about my well-being and if I had any health issues or chronic illnesses. Ever since Mary left, I had been mostly cooped up at home, not talking to anyone. Samantha's kindness gradually warmed my heart, and I felt tears welling up. I was set to retire, and I probably wouldn't see her again. Even at my age, embarrassingly, I spilled my heart out to Samantha, someone I had just met. Perhaps I had always wanted someone to listen. I just wanted someone to ask, "Did I do something wrong?" Samantha listened to my confessional-like story in silence and then softly remarked, "Divorce is tough, isn't it?" To my surprise, she revealed that she herself had been through a divorce. Whether it was because of our shared experiences or because I had bared my soul, I felt somewhat relieved. Suddenly, I realized it was already evening. I felt I should head home, but once I left, the thought of returning to the house filled with memories of Michelle made me hesitant. When I opened up to Samantha with my complaints, she surprisingly suggested, "How about living at my place?" I was taken aback, but Samantha seemed entirely nonchalant about it. She said, "You don't need to force yourself to go back. I live alone, so don't sweat it," making it sound like no big deal. In my mind, it's unheard of for a man and a woman who just met to immediately live in the same room. But maybe Samantha sees me more like a fatherly figure and is just concerned. There's certainly no romantic vibe between us. After all, my house is on the market due to asset division, and it seems a buyer will finalize the deal soon. Even if I leave my home now, returning after a little while probably wouldn't be much different. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't muster the will to go back home. So, begrudgingly convincing myself, I decided to stay at Samantha's place. Samantha lived in a small apartment near her office. It turns out Samantha has a child. A picture of a young boy is displayed, and she mentioned that she's left him with her mother back in the countryside while she works in the city, sending money back home. Seeing Samantha's dedication as a single mother, I can't help but feel that women, especially mothers, are incredibly strong. Samantha leaves early in the morning and comes back late at night. During the day, if she gets a chance, she comes home for a short nap before heading out again. It seems she prefers cleaning early in the morning or after work when there's no one around. So even though we're living together, we rarely see each other. Even if I chip in a bit for my own expenses, Samantha insists on taking care of everything. Savings. It doesn't change the fact that I'm somewhat freeloading. Seeing Samantha work from dawn to dusk, I wanted to do something for her, so I decided to start with cooking meals. Figuring Samantha would want some downtime, I'd fetch necessary stuff from my house or buy groceries and fumble my way through making a meal. Until now, my wife, Mary, handled all household chores, so this was a new experience for me. The food might not be gourmet, but it's edible. When Samantha came home and saw the prepared meal, she was pleasantly surprised and seemed even happier than I had anticipated. Realizing that there are still people who can appreciate my efforts brought joy to my heart, and I gradually began taking on other household tasks. About twice a month, Samantha would visit her family home. Naturally, as a mother, Samantha is probably worried about her son. When I'm alone in my room, I often find myself reminiscing about the past. I wonder how things ended up this way with Mary. Back in my college days when I was still living at home, I had a girlfriend. Her name was Katie, 2 years younger than me, and she was incredibly talented at drawing. But as time went on, I left my hometown for a job in the city. Although we continued our relationship for a while, I slowly became consumed by my work and began neglecting her. Then, my former boss took a liking to me and introduced me to Mary. He told me that marrying Mary would secure my future. Being young and ambitious at the time, and with a career-focused mindset, I decided to marry her. By then, I had almost lost contact with Katie, but when she learned I'd be marrying the boss's daughter due to work ties, she, surprisingly for her character, was hesitant. Eventually, we parted ways. Sometimes I think, maybe I should have married Katie, but pondering about what-ifs is futile now. I wonder how Katie is doing, and whether we might meet again. The thought makes me yearn to see her. One day, Samantha's son, Ethan, came over. He lives with his grandmother in the countryside, but he was in the area for a mock exam and decided to drop by. Ethan is exceptionally bright and is preparing for middle school entrance exams. To afford his tuition, Samantha has been working tirelessly in the city. He seemed to have heard about me beforehand and without any surprise, called me uncle. It tickled me a bit, but I was pleased. Watching Samantha and Ethan, I can feel the mutual care between parent and child, and I realize that this warmth is what family is all about. Certainly, Mary and I didn't have this. Maybe our divorce was inevitable? Lately, I feel more at peace and can think about the divorce and Mary more calmly. Will I be able to live, looking forward like Samantha does someday? I still don't know if forgetting Mary is the key to my happiness. It's been about a year since I started living with Samantha. While continuing household chores, I've been doing odd jobs outside and spending my days sort of rehabilitating. There are still moments that bring back painful memories, but I believe I've come to terms with my past with Mary. Thinking about it, I no longer see a need to stay in the city. I always thought that after retirement I'd want to take things slow. Perhaps, even though my parents are gone, I should consider returning to my childhood home. There's not much left for me there. If anything, it's just memories of my youth with my parents and the times I spent with Katie. However, the more I think about it, the stronger my desire becomes to go back. Acting on a whim, I share my feelings with Samantha when she returns. After some thought, she says, maybe I should return too. I've done everything here. Surprised, I ask, what about the education expenses for your child? She replies with a determined look, I secured a scholarship, so it's fine. I've also achieved what I really wanted. What exactly was her true purpose? A week later, Samantha and I hastily quit our jobs, packed up the apartment we were staying in, and decided to return to our respective hometowns. I had never discussed Samantha's hometown before, but when I asked, it turned out to be a town right next to mine. It seems there really is some connection between Samantha and me, and I'm taken aback by the coincidence. We traveled together by train for part of the journey. Neither of us spoke much. We just looked out the window, watching the scenery go by. The closer we got to our hometown, the more overwhelming the feeling of returning became. At the station where Samantha got off, her son Ethan was waiting. He ran up to her as she stepped onto the platform, yelling, "Mom!" and gave her a big hug. Standing next to Ethan was a middle-aged woman, probably Samantha's mother, who gave me a nod. I nodded back, and then I bowed to an elderly woman who must have been Samantha's mother, who bowed to me next to Ethan. "Teddy, it's Katie, my ex-girlfriend. She's aged since I last remembered, but without a doubt, it's her." Without hesitation, I stand up, quickly get off the train, and rush over to her. It's been a long time. Seems Samantha's been under your care. Katie smiles warmly and calmly as if she had known we'd meet. To my astonishment, Samantha was Katie's daughter. I never imagined Katie having such a grown-up daughter, but thinking about Samantha's age, it seems she must have been conceived just before I started my job, around the time Katie and I were still dating. Seeing the mix of disbelief and tension on my face, Katie speaks up. Samantha is undoubtedly your child. She decided on her own, gave birth to her, and raised her. In shock, Katie begins to explain everything to me. After I landed my job and left our hometown, Katie discovered she was pregnant. She wanted to keep it a secret to surprise me, but out of the blue, I had told her I was entering into an arranged marriage and asked her to break up. Torn over what to do, she decided not to burden me and chose to give birth and raise the child on her own, a fact I was completely unaware of and which left me stunned. Katie, who had a talent for art, became an art teacher and did portrait paintings and all sorts of art gigs. With the help of her parents, she managed to raise Samantha. After her own marriage and subsequent divorce, Samantha started questioning her family roots, wondering why she was born, why her parents divorced, and how she became determined to meet her biological father, me. So she worked in the city, partly to earn her child's education fees, but mostly to find me. However, she didn't know my last name since I had taken my wife's surname in marriage. All she knew was my first name, Tony, and that I likely worked for a sizable company. While working various cleaning jobs, she hopped from one company to another in search of me. She wasn't finding any leads and was about to give up and return to her hometown when she coincidentally met me, hunched over in distress at the company. She immediately recognized the resemblance from a photo Katie had once shown her and asked my name to confirm her suspicion. Hearing her story, I was in disbelief. I had never imagined that I had a blood-related family out there. Above all, I was overwhelmed with guilt for what I had done. Leaving Katie alone while she was pregnant, and after we broke up, she single-handedly raised Samantha while still having feelings for me. The realization brought me to tears. I'm so sorry, Katie. I don't even know how to begin to apologize. I deeply regret making you go through all the hardship and loneliness over the years. I say, feeling the weight of my remorse, as if I could fall to my knees at any moment. No amount of apologizing seems enough. Yet, Katie, with a smile, forgives me, saying she made the choice on her own. I won't lie, there were times I resented you, but I wanted to raise our child more for myself than anything. Since I chose to be a single mother on my own, you don't need to apologize, Katie says. She mentioned she had been hearing about me from Samantha ever since we first met. I never thought I'd see you again, but maybe this chance encounter is fate. I cherish this bond. I've grown old, but there wasn't a day I didn't think of you. She says with teary eyes. I too feel tears threatening to spill. Why did I choose my job over her back then? Why didn't Katie tell me she was pregnant? While I know it's pointless to regret the past, I say, I can't ask for your forgiveness, but please let me do whatever I can from now on. I want to be there for you. Just tell me what you need. Without hesitation, Katie responds, if you can accept an old lady like me, I'd like for us to be a family from now on, says Katie. She had been pondering over what to do since she learned of my meeting with Samantha. In the end, she realized she still loved me. She came to this realization because she loved me enough to raise Samantha alone. I believe Katie has become an even more wonderful woman than she was before. Katie, I promise to cherish you for the rest of my life. Please stay with me. The thought of having someone who still needs me even after retirement warms my heart. I vow never to let go again and to always hold her dear. 6 months later, shortly after that day, we renovated the house I inherited from my parents. Now Katie and I, along with Samantha and Ethan, live there as 3 generations under one roof. There are understandably some awkward moments since I suddenly joined the family, but there's also the excitement of getting to know each other better. While everything may not be perfect immediately, we have all the time in the world. I am excited for us to become a true family, gradually but surely.